spinal cord and the brain make up the central nervous system. Branching from the central nervous system is the peripheral nervous system that extends nerves into our arms and legs. Nerves from the spinal cord exit through vertebrae to connect to and communicate with muscles and organs. The peripheral nervous system bridges the communication from our brain and spinal cord to our limbs. If our brain will tell us to move our arm, a signal will travel down the spinal cord to the peripheral nervous system, to the muscles in our arm, and our arm will move. The spinal cord is the communication highway of your body, connecting the brain to the entire body. Information can be sent down from your brain to your muscles. It can also be sent up to your brain from your organs, letting you know if you're hungry, something is painful, or you have to use the washroom. The spinal cord is housed in the outer protection of 33 vertebrae and enclosed in 3 membrane layers. These vertebrae are categorized into 4 sections: cervical, neck region; thoracic, rib area; lumbar, lower back; sacral and coccyx, tailbone. The lumbar region is home to a massive network of complex connections known as the central pattern generators. This network is responsible for rhythmic movements that we don't use conscious thought to execute, such as breathing and walking. The spinal cord consists of 2 main cell types, neurons and glial cells. Neurons are nerve cells, and they're responsible for relaying information between the brain and the body. There are 3 main types of neurons: motor neurons, sensory neurons, and interneurons. Sensory neurons send information toward the central nervous system about sensation or feeling. These sensory neurons typically pass messages to interneurons within the spinal cord or brain, which are very short neurons that connect incoming information to motor neurons. Motor neurons then send information away from the central nervous system into muscles, telling them to move. The structure of a neuron resembles a wire, with one side ready to accept information through a long cord to transmit the signal to the opposite end, where it relays information to the following neuron. The receiving end of the neuron is called the dendrites. This end of the neuron resembles a tree with multiple branches. The long cord is the axon, which can be very short or as long as 3 feet and covered in an insulating material called the myelin sheath. How do neurons send signals to each other? Where the axon of one neuron ends is where the tips of dendrites from another neuron connect for communication. An electrical signal known as a nerve impulse is relayed down an axon through small gaps in the myelin sheath. This reduces the amount of space the signal needs to travel by breaking up the axon into small segments rather than having to travel the whole length of the axon. This makes myelin essential for fast and proper signal transmission. The message from one axon is transferred to the tip of another neuron's dendrite through a tiny space called the synapse. The neurons never physically touch each other. However, the presynaptic neuron, the one sending the signal, releases neurotransmitters to the postsynaptic neuron, the one receiving the signal. The neurotransmitters bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, which ultimately opens specialized gates and allows for the nerve impulse to be transferred. It is important to understand the biology of the spinal cord and its cell types as they target new therapies, which we will go into in more detail in our next video.